that was a bummer there for Hayden Deegan. We thought we had a brewing battle. He was figuring out the track, starting to close back in on Hunter Lawrence. That would have been fun to watch, but his bike let go. But as you said at the top of the show, well, Hunter had the exact same thing happen at Southwick, so turnabout's fair play here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? And it's a brutal blow to the championship fight and all the headlines there. But he's going to bounce back. He's a kid, and I like the comments from his father, Brian Deegan, saying, I get it. It's dirt bike racing. These things happen. They break, and they've happened to our competitors as well. But I can tell you, standing there in the moment right next to Brian, he was heartbroken, right? He and his wife were both heartbroken. They understood what it did to their championship chances. But then an hour later, they were back at the line and they were ready to go fighting again. So it's just a part of the sport, and it's not going to ever change. We're going to see this type of stuff happen now and again.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up, because Hayden even said in your interview that he had moved past it. And then I heard people saying, but I saw his body language when he was getting a ride back in that golf cart. He was clearly devastated. Both things can be true. I'm sure the moment that bike shut down, it was tragic in his heart and his soul. But in the big picture as a rookie, it's not title or bust this year. You can have both perspectives. Maybe it takes an hour or a couple of days to get there, but still a fantastic season for him. And it's not over. But as for Hunter, it couldn't have worked out better, especially because we go back to Washougal. Hayden Deegan was stoking the flames a little bit, saying that maybe it's nerve-wracking for Hunter. He's supposed to be winning these races. Hunter responded quite well on the podium, saying this pressure is not really pressure to him.
I was looking forward to it. You know, everyone was talking about, oh, the pressure this, the pressure that. That's not pressure. I choose to do this. Pressure is when my family couldn't eat. So this is fun, and it's what I love to do. So I was looking forward to the challenge.
Man, that was good stuff right there. That was good. A good way to fire back without even mentioning Deegan's name.
Yeah, that was an incredible comment by Hunter, and I think it caught everybody a little bit off guard. I thought he would say something along the lines of, yes, great, but there's still, 5 motos to go or something like that. But it wasn't. He went much deeper than that. And I think it just gives you a little bit of a glimpse of the perspective that he and his family have, that, yes, this is all great, but the success and the difficulties all have to be taken, in good measure, because it's not the end of the world, good or bad. And I think his comments of, I'm either going to win it or I'm not. Right. And then it's a binary thing. So, yeah, it shows he's a lot more mature than his age would tell you.
Yeah, well, you and I discussed on our podcast right after Washougal. It's clear that Deegan wants to play mind games. I don't think it's going to work on someone with the perspective of Hunter Lawrence. Other riders, yes, but Hunter's been through too much, and that was the point he made there. So let's update this 250 title battle. At least for the moment, it's Justin Cooper, second in points, 22 down. That's a pretty big lead with 4 motos, but honestly, not the way this season has gone.
Yeah, and anything goes so far, right? And all the things we're sitting here talking about now, it feels like Hayden Deegan's somewhat out of it, and Justin Cooper, with his great motos, still feels like he's out of it, and Hunter's taking back control. I'm sure Bud's Creek will throw a wrench and all that, and we'll be here next week talking about, wow, it's wide open again, right? And that's just the way this series has gone. Every single time, it feels like someone's slipping away with this championship. Life has a curveball to throw at him. So I'm just going to be prepared for that. I'm going to assume that this championship's going to go down to the final moto until I'm proven wrong.
Let's give you an update on the playoff standings. This is Super Motocross when we combine Supercross and Motocross together. All year we've had this strangely close duel between RJ Hampshire and Hayden Deegan for second. And the crazy thing is, Deegan loses a ton of points in Moto 1. Not great in Moto 2 with the bad gate pick. But then RJ goes down in Moto 2. So they're still close in points. So that'll be interesting to see maybe the recovery timeline for RJ. And the other thing I've been watching all summer, JT, is these Monster Pro Circuit Kawasaki riders trying to get in. Hamaker's been riding well. But that was devastating for Austin Faulkner, though, to not get points again in Moto 1, even though he was riding well all day.
Yeah, he's going to have to really pull out some strong finishes over the last 4. But the good news is his form is there. You watch time qualifying, you watch the second moto. The speed is there for him to make this really interesting, but it's almost a comedy of errors between he and Hamaker and these guys of, do you really want to qualify or not? And of course they do. It just hasn't been so easy, right? And someone like Quentin Fowler would be like, well, if they just get 7th every single moto, and I know you love that dynamic, Weege. If it's easy. You'll just get 7th every single time.
Good luck.
But it's crazy, right? Because if you told me that Austin Faulkner went 3:19 at Bud's Creek, I'd be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you average that out, and it may be exactly what he needs. So it's definitely been an interesting storyline. It's not one that we've ever thought about before. but all of these things that have really never mattered. Like, we'd never be thinking about what Austin Forkner's late season results might mean. It might mean everything as far as SMX playoffs go.
Yeah, he is 45th overall in combined points, and he's got to close in on that top 30 now with only 4 motos to go. That hurts, just missing the points in Moto 1. Now we're going to go back to the 450 class, and this is really funny. So it's been so great with Jett Lawrence having this historic season to have Ricky Carmichael and James Stewart with us to talk perfect season because they're the only other riders that have done it. But then we decided to go in another direction this weekend and talk about their rather infamous moment battling in 2005 at Unadilla, where James landed on Ricky. And I asked James about it on Friday when we first unrolled the clip. Ricky wasn't there yet, hadn't gotten there from the airport. And what he said Carmichael would say was exactly what Carmichael said. Now you can hear the exchange with those two on the broadcast.
Here's RC in yellow, you on the green in 05. Oh boy.
You tell your version.
Well, I mean, that was my version. Look, it was your fault. It was your fault. No, this just honestly
Racing.
It's racing. You know, he was trying to block the inside. I was trying to get to the inside, and unfortunately, I think no matter what, I wanted to beat the guy that much, but I wouldn't jump on him. But
yeah, I mean, I think like we've talked about it. I don't think that you anticipated me to block the inside because I knew if I kept my momentum and jumped to the outside, you were just going to get back by me. But you know what? A lot of that was my fault because if you go back to that race, I was leading and I fell down, I think, taking the second lap.
It's funny how time heals all, because I can tell you in 2005, there were some hard feelings, there were some hard comments made, and I don't think they were in agreement about how that was supposed to go or went at all. So I love to see how, cooler heads prevail 18 years later. But yeah, I don't know that was necessarily the feeling going back to those days.
It's full love fest now, I can tell you. I mean, if you told me I was going to be sitting in a TV booth rolling that clip with the two of them next to me, I'd be like, I don't want to be in that room. But no, it's fine. They're buddies now. And yes, like you said, time heals all wounds. Speaking of SMX, let's give you the point standings updated there. Chase Sexton pretty much has this sewn up as far as being the #1 seed going in. But there's a lot of battles going on behind them, including guys jumping in and out, like we saw Colt Nichols and Shane McElrath do. Probably get another race or two out of those guys before it's over. So we'll see how this seeding thing works out. Even, Justin Barcia came back this weekend. So that mixed it up too.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And it's been a fluid situation all year. I always think about the guys on the bubble, because the riders that can get in and not have to face that LCQ, I think about riders especially like Jose Butron. He doesn't really have any Supercross experience, so he needs to get into that top 20. He needs to seed himself because his odds of qualifying out of the LCQ in a type of racing he's never done before, his odds go way, way down. So that's the interesting things. Like Phil Nicoletti's a guy we've had our eye on too. He had a really tough second moto, which put a dent in his odds of getting seeded in. But I love that. Again, we've never had this dynamic before. So a lot of these riders that are typically also rans, maybe they're getting 10th, maybe they're getting 15th. That's going to be the difference between qualifying for the SMX playoff championship or not. And I just think it's a great new wrinkle in the entire series overall.
So let's wrap this up with this. You see where it says the moment on the screen. I was quite taken aback when Jett Lawrence went behind the podium with the Edison Die Cup. That is the traveling trophy that has the name of all what is now 450 motocross champions, all the names on it. And you and I have been in conversations with Jett through the years. He's not an all-time trivia statistician. You can throw out old races to Adam Cianciarulo from before he was born, and he can tell you who won. That is not Jett Lawrence's specialty. He kind of just takes life as it comes. So that's what impressed me. He still understands how big it is to have his name join the greats of the sport as a champion. And that was really interesting to see him literally just holding the trophy and staring at it almost in disbelief that he had joined this company.
Yeah, and I was very fortunate. I was standing right outside the tent watching all of this unfold. And there were a few people that came over and said, hey, can you come over with us? Can you, sponsors, this and that? And he just was kind of blocking everything out. And I think he understood that I need to absorb this moment and just sit here and remember this forever, right? And burn it into my memory of what this feels like, the emotion, the accomplishment, because if it never happens again, which I would strongly argue against, but if it never happens again, he'll always remember that time, that quiet time where no one was bothering him. He didn't allow anyone to talk to him. everybody gave him this opportunity to let it sink in for a little bit and just absorb the opportunity, right? Coming from Australia as a child, moving to Europe, moving to the USA, all of the change, and watching his parents struggle, watching Hunter struggle, and for him to rise to the very top of the sport at such a young age. I can't imagine all the emotions that had to be running through him. And a kid that's so jovial, so lighthearted all the time, you could see that this moment weighed on him. And I appreciated that as an adult. I appreciated that he was able to understand how deep and how heavy this moment was and how many people dreamed of this. For myself, I dreamed of doing something like that. And of course, I was never even close. But if he had not absorbed, and if he had just laughed it off and said, "Yeah, that's cool, no big deal," it would have bummed me out a little bit. And I really appreciated the fact that he was willing to take a moment and appreciate it.
Okay, that's it for our look back at Unadilla. We now look forward to Budds Creek this weekend. And JT, I think that's your favorite track of all, isn't it?
It is. I love this track. It's my best result ever. Was here, accomplished in 2006. And I'm going to have a smile on my face when I get off the plane. Even though I don't get to ride, there's just something about Budds Creek that I agree with. So I'll be happy to talk about the racing there and join yourself and I believe Ricky Carmichael this weekend.
Yeah, we got RC back with us. This track is only about a half hour outside of Washington, D.C., by the way. So if you want to make it a family weekend, not a bad place to do it. It's still summertime. If you want to watch back to the traditional times, we'll have qualifying coverage. That's Race Day Live presented by Motorsport.com at 10 o'clock. You can watch on Peacock or the Super Motocross Video Pass outside of the U.S. And same place to watch the motos, which start at 1 o'clock. 4 straight hours of motos, and we'll have a halftime show in between Motos 1 and Motos 2. So check that out again, Peacock and Super Motocross Video Pass.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.